The following video is the opinion of the Missing Truth. Further information has been researched or has been provided by those in connection to this case. News articles and or information that is given or stated by law enforcement, family members, and or per social media. Any person or persons is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. A mother's love does not dwindle as a child gets older. Her worries are still as strong as when they laid in the cradle or taking their first steps. A child is never a failure in their mother's eyes. A mother's love is one of the strongest energies in the universe and will last beyond the test of time. With tears in her voice, Samuel Reyes' mom said she last talked to her son on December 10th. He told her he was looking forward to going into the Army and he would let her know how orientation went. His new Army soldier orientation was scheduled for December 14th. Sam never made it to his orientation. This is Sam's story, through the eyes of strangers. 32-year-old Samuel Reyes' family lived in California until moving to Texas in 2020. Sam had decided to stay in California after his mother made the move, but soon after, decided to move to Texas. He not only had his mother in Texas, but his father's side of the family was also living there. After arriving in Texas, Sam spent a few months visiting with family in San Antonio. In late November, Sam, who was already a graduate of the Cordon Bleu Academy with a culinary degree, made a life-changing decision by enlisting in the Army, where his girlfriend was already serving her country. His mother had not seen him since October and was excited about getting to spend a holiday with him before he went to the Army. On December 10th, Sam's mom, Leanie Cohen, said she had talked to Sam on the phone, and he was excited about joining the Army. With tears in her voice, Samuel Reyes' mom said she last talked to her son on December 10th, and he told her he was looking forward to going into the Army, and he would let her know how orientation went. Sam's mom, a military veteran herself, was so proud of Sam's enthusiasm and his plans for the future, but little did she know, her world was about to be flipped upside down. Later on that day, Sam and his girlfriend suddenly broke up. She later dropped Sam off at his grandmother's house, where he had been staying with his grandmother and his 16-year-old cousin in Lakeside, near the San Antonio area. On December 14th, Sam's mom tried to call Sam to see how his orientation had went, but she could not get in touch with him. She decided to call his dad and stepmom. She was then told Sam was missing since the morning of December 12th. She reached out to his Army recruiters, who told her he was a no-call, no-show for the orientation. So she decided she needed to go to San Antonio to find out exactly what was happening. When arriving in San Antonio, she went straight to the grandmother's home. When entering the room where he had been staying, she could see he left all of his belongings behind, so she started trying to put things together. She could see after going through his phone that he had called 911 the first time at 11:38 p.m. that evening. She also seen that 911 had called him back. The grandmother and his cousin said he had been acting oddly, but did not know he had called 911 until they showed up at the home. His grandmother went to Sam's room to tell him the police were there and to ask him what was going on. She found the door would not open because he had pushed bedroom furniture against it. She managed to finally get it open, but seen Sam crouched down in the closet. She started to question Sam about why the police were there, and he told her not to let them in. There was something coming to get him, he said, and was afraid they were going to find him. She finally convinced him to come into the living room to talk to the officer and the EMS personnel. He told them he was having an anxiety attack. EMS checked his vitals and his heart rate was elevated, but they were able to calm him down and then asked him to go to the hospital to be checked out, but he refused, so they gave him information on who he could contact in case his condition worsened. After they left, a wave of depression feeling came over him, and he talked to his grandmother about how he felt about his life, and he felt his life was a failure. His grandmother talked with him, and he seemed to have calmed down. It was more relaxed. so she decided to go to bed. Unknowing to the grandmother, while the police was at the house, Sam's 16-year-old cousin had gotten the grandmother's phone and had meant to send a text to an unknown person which said, "Sam has called the cops, and I don't know why." She sent this text, which is believed to be accidentally, to Sam's phone, and Sam's mother found this text when she was going through his phone. The cousin told Sam's mother, when being questioned, that Sam had come and knocked on her bedroom door sometime after midnight and asked her to punch him in the face. She refused, obviously, to hit him and closed the door. She said Sam had been drinking that night and wasn't acting like himself. That was the last time Sam's cousin had seen him. Early the next morning, the grandmother said she heard a knock at the door, so she got up to see who was there to find the door open, and Sam was gone. A week later, San Antonio Police Department said they received a call from the Town East Baptist Church. They said a man believed to be Sam had came into the church early that morning with no shoes on, only wearing socks, while 3 church members were preparing a church breakfast. And he said his cousin had been kidnapped, and he was looking for them, and he needed to search the church. The men allowed Sam in, and he calmly searched. This was all caught on the church's security video inside the church. After they gave him time to search, they told him he needed to leave, and he calmly left. Unfortunately, none of the street cameras were working at this time, but a convenience store camera caught him running toward the church at 6:30 a.m. It's believed he went back to the grandmother's house after he left the church, according to the time the grandmother heard the knocks on her door. But it has been stated that Sam was a very polite person, and he had never left the door open before. Could Sam have made it back to his grandmother's house that morning and answered the knock at the door and willingly walked out of the house, not shutting the door because he had not planned on leaving the property? Could the person knocking on the door be the girl he was buying drugs from, who was the girlfriend of Sam's cousin that was in jail at the time? Or was it the person he feared was coming to get him earlier on that evening when he called the police? Was the kidnapped cousin he spoke about the same cousin that also lived with him and his grandmother? Sam's mother and volunteers have covered the area surrounding the church, the convenience store, and the area around the grandmother's home. They have also searched bodies of water near Lake Crystal Street near the home. Texas EchoSearch has been called in and are involved in this search for Sam. Unfortunately, Sam is still missing. Sam's mother explained in an interview that Sam had struggled with bipolar disorder and addiction at that early age when he lived in California. Sam has hit himself in the past while struggling. While he struggled with addiction before moving to Texas, he had experienced this kind of episode of paranoia while using, and family has felt he may have had relapsed, even though he had just passed a complete physical and drug screening with the Army. The family also believes that after talking to his ex-girlfriend that broke up with him that day, his behavior was the reason for the breakup. Sam's mother found evidence on his phone that he indeed had relapsed, and his dealer was one of the last people to correspond with him. Let me say before anyone decides to judge Sam for his addiction, please remember, Sam is not the only victim that suffered from this addiction. For a parent to be forced to watch chemical dependency take over their child's mind and body, it's agonizing. To fight someone else's addiction is pointless, and you will never win. But as parents, we take on this invincible killer, unfortunately, to no prevail. Someone seen something that night, and it's not believed he was suicidal, and foul play is a possibility in his disappearance. Sam left his phone and wallet behind, and there has not been any activity on his account since he went missing. They are offering a reward up to $10,000 to find him. There is very little to no leads about Sam's disappearance. Sam was 32 years old and was last seen in the 2000 block of Lake Crystal Street in San Antonio, Texas on December 11th, 2020. Sam is 5'10" and weighs 170 pounds. Sam was wearing a dark blue, black form-fitting shirt and blue jeans. He possibly had a faded gray Quicksilver cap and a faded gray backpack. Sam has a scar on his inner left bicep, and he may be confused or disoriented. He has shoulder-length curly brown hair and a mustache goatee. If you have seen Sam since his reported disappearance, if you know of his current whereabouts, or if you have any information whatsoever concerning Samuel's disappearance, please call the San Antonio Police Department at 210-207-7660. Case number is SAPD 2023-9919. The Missing Truth would like to extend our thoughts and prayers to Sam and his family. The tears of his mother has greatly saddened us, and we will keep praying for her and her son. May peace be with you all on your journey to find him. For further updates on Sam's case, subscribe to The Missing Truth to receive notifications. Like us and leave us a comment. Join our Facebook page and our private group. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. If you have a family member or friend that is missing and you feel their case needs more exposure, you can contact us by email at themissingtruth1@gmail.com or send us a private message on our Facebook page. Always remember, some sort of truth remains in a lie. Have a good night.